Raider Nation, get ready for some serious drama with the latest updates straight from behind the scenes in Las Vegas. The pressure in Las Vegas going into this matchup with the Browns is about a lot more than pride. It is about job security too. The offense is under fire. The offensive line is under the microscope. Young guys are trying to break through. Veterans are searching for answers. The locker room feels the tension, and there is a huge decision hanging over one of the biggest names on this roster. And that last storyline is really going to hit the diehard fans. Stick around because the way this plays out is intense. But before we dive into every detail of this breakdown, let me talk to you for a second. Hit that subscribe button. It is free and it helps keep this Raider Nation space alive. Smash the like as well because that is what tells YouTube to push this conversation to more silver and black fans. And drop a comment telling me how you are feeling about this team right now because honestly, this is a bleachers level conversation. Honestly, the Raiders offense is way past the point where you can call this just a rough patch. This is a team with 2 wins and 8 losses in their last 9 games, 4 straight setbacks, now facing a Browns squad with a young quarterback trying to make a statement. Losing this game would already be brutal on its own, but losing to a guy you passed on multiple times in the draft, Shedder Sanders, would be like stamping on your forehead that this front office blew it. Pete Carroll feels that. When he gets asked about the offensive line, he says he made sure every single practice this week felt like a big-time day, nothing like just going through the motions. He said they focused hard on third downs, on the red zone, on finishing drives the right way. Man, that is the bare minimum, but at least it shows he understands this offense cannot keep marching down the field and walking away with only a field goal. It wears everybody out. He also talked about having more guys healthy, more bodies on the field, better practice tempo, and he praised rookie linebacker Carson Schwessinger, saying the kid came in confident, crushed the interview, and is putting together a really solid rookie year. But to be straight with you, Raider Nation is done listening to great week of practice talk. The problem is that on Sunday, the offense takes the field, moves the ball, drives, and when it matters most, it turns into a 3-point kick. Pretty stats in terms of yards, but the scoreboard does not move. One answer that really stuck with me was when they asked about the inconsistency on offense, whether it is more about play calling or bad protection. Carroll basically dodged picking a side. He said every game is a different experience. That one weird game where they were marching and suddenly the score flipped to 24-6, changed everything they wanted to do. Then he dropped that line about we are still developing this offense, like it is the start of the season. Man, that drives me crazy. And you still have the part about the guy they did not pick. He praises Shedder Sanders himself, says he liked the kid in their meeting, that he has a good head on his shoulders, a strong view of the world, that he handles pressure since he was young, that he plays piano. But then you look at this stuck offense, the veterans struggling, the silver and black fan base swallowing loss after loss, and it is impossible not to think, did we totally miss on this draft? The detail is that he finishes saying he wants to see Chip Kelly aggressive again, like last week. And right here, you get that pure Raiders fan read, aggression without identity does not solve anything. There is no point in chucking the ball in desperation if the line cannot protect, and if the game plan changes at the first punch the scoreboard throws. This matchup with the Browns is about more than a single win. It is about proving there is still any real path forward for this offense, and the way they use a certain young offensive piece taken high in the draft connects directly to what we are going to hit in the next part of this breakdown. What really drives me nuts about this offense right now is seeing Ashton Jeanty almost tied up inside this game plan. This guy was the 6th overall pick. He came in to be the engine of the unit, and the whole idea was to build a physical, run-first identity. 10 weeks have gone by, and we are still looking at a team that does not know who it is, while the rookie who should be the face of that change is living off occasional flashes here and there. Man, that makes me crazy. When you listen to Jeanty talk, it is not empty talk. He drops that line about trying to stay consistent with who I am, with my approach, my process, leading however I can as a rookie. The kid buys into the culture, talks about staying with his teammates, not giving up, grinding through the rough stretch together. And to be honest with you, it is wild that this mindset is coming from the player and not from an offensive plan that should be built around him. He even admits that the rookie year is heavy, that there is a lot out of his hands, that he is just trying to control what he can and make the most of it when his number gets called. But it is impossible to make the most of every opportunity if the game plan spends the whole afternoon ignoring the guy who was a premium draft investment. He talks about elite level preparation, a different challenge every week, respect for the entire league. That is veteran language, not some kid begging for snaps in a broken offense. The reality is the fan base sees it and thinks the same thing. If the goal was to be a physical team, why is the player most ready to do that not the center of the offense? Only here you get this silver and black fan view. Something is off when the rookie is the one ready to carry the load and the staff looks scared to put that weight on his back. The locker room feels who is really willing to suffer with them, and that attitude from Ginty helps keep the group together through a 2-8 record that hurts like crazy. At the same time, every week that goes by without using him as the focal point just makes the sense of wasted potential grow, and there is more. This Browns game is the perfect spot to finally unleash Ginty. Cold weather, a physical defense on the other side, a game that screams for tough runs and grinding out first downs. If he gets real volume, it helps protect Geno, helps the defense breathe, and even cools off some of the heat on Pete Carroll himself. If they walk in and the story repeats with a couple of timid carries and the run game abandoned early, it is hard to buy any talk of culture change. And we are not even at the heaviest storyline of the day. I know you are probably thinking the same thing. It makes no sense to invest heavy in a running back just to use him as a role player. Drop a comment if you would finally let Ginty carry this offense on his back, because the way they handle him now says a lot about what they truly believe this offense should be going forward. And that whole debate about trusting a young piece, about betting on someone who wants to flip the script, ties directly into the situation of the veteran running this offense right now and still searching for answers. There comes a point where you cannot blame everything on bad luck or little details anymore, and Geno Smith has reached exactly that point. The Raiders' offense is stuck with no identity and no confidence, and the veteran, who was supposed to be the stabilizing force, has turned into a big question mark for this team's future. The front office is going to have to decide fast whether they see him as a bridge, a solution, or as a problem they would just be dragging into next season. In every press conference, the message sounds familiar. We moved the ball, but we did not finish drives in the red zone. Against the right defense, it even looks like the offense finds a rhythm, moves up and down the field, spreads the ball around, and then as soon as they get into scoring range, it becomes a force field. A flood of field goals, silly mistakes, broken execution. Geno himself admits that. He says that watching the tape, he saw exactly what he felt in the game. Not enough touchdowns, too many missed chances. It is exhausting, right? He also throws out that honest line that if he had a magic fix, he would have used it already. He says it is all about focus, a mistake here, a slip there, a human error in a gladiator sport, and he is right up to a point because one bad route, one blown block, one late read can wreck an entire drive. But to be real with you, when that keeps happening in November, you cannot keep treating it as just one of those games. It becomes a bad identity. That is where Chip Kelly comes into this story. The guy is the highest paid offensive coordinator in the league, and even so, this offense still looks like a permanent lab experiment that never becomes a finished product. Some games they are aggressive, other games they are conservative, but it is rare to see a performance where everything really fits together. The run game working, play action threatening, intermediate throws punishing the defense. Only here you get this silver and black fan red. It feels like the game plan changes after the first punch, the scoreboard lands, and Geno ends up stuck in the middle of that tactical chaos. On the field, he talks a lot about responsibility. He says it starts with him, that he has to protect the ball better, cut down the turnovers, be sharper on every snap. It is the right message, and the locker room respects that. But the question Raider Nation keeps asking is different. Even with that attitude, can you really trust he is the guy to win big games? Or are we holding on to a polite version of a problem that just keeps growing? Man, that kind of doubt eats away at any hope of a late season turnaround. Hit the comments and tell me if you would stick with Geno next year or if you would already move on, because this uncertainty at quarterback ties directly into how the rest of the league views the Raiders right now, with media betting against them, people saying the defense carries while the offense drags everything down, and that all becomes extra pressure heading into this Browns game and everything they are trying to build in the middle of all this doubt. Outside of Vegas, not many people are buying into these Raiders for this game against the Browns, and honestly, I get it. This is a 2-8 team with an offense that has no clear identity, a defense living on the edge, and another possible beating on the horizon. When you look at what Pete Prisco from CBS said, you can feel how damaged this team's image is. He basically laid out the perfect script for the rookie on the other side to debut with a win against a defense that struggles against the pass and an offense that cannot protect its quarterback. His breakdown is straightforward. Shedeur Sanders making his first start, facing a secondary that gives up a lot of space, with Myles Garrett smelling blood against an offensive line that has left Geno Smith taking hit after hit. That is exactly the movie the rest of the league is watching. And to be honest with you, until we see this offense sustaining long drives and really protecting Geno, it is hard to argue against it. But there is a side to this story that only Raider Nation truly feels. When the defense gets even a minimum amount of help, it has already shown it can hold down strong offenses, like it did against the Broncos. But when the offense collapses, the memories rush back from those games where everything fell apart, like against the Chiefs and the Cowboys, with the team basically abandoned on the field because there is no such thing as complimentary football. Man, you cannot keep sending this group out there with the same script and then act surprised when the ending does not change. The vibe all week has been about preparing for any kind of storm. The staff knows that if they let the opposing rookie get comfortable early, the narrative is going to explode. Dream debut against a soft defense. At the same time, the guys in the locker room hear all this talk that nobody believes in them, that they are an easy target, and that hits their pride. Only here you get this bleacher-level silver and black take. Wounded pride either turns into gasoline or it turns into concrete on your legs. There is no middle ground. And I actually liked the way Geno talked about Shedeur. He gave that classic veteran answer from someone who knows what it is like to live under a magnifying glass. He said that as Deion Sanders' son, the kid has dealt with pressure his entire life, and that the real key is not letting outside opinion get too deep in your head. He said that for him personally, the criticism does not matter, that the focus is doing the job and executing every day. That kind of answer is solid, it shows respect, but it also highlights the contrast. While the rookie arrives with an exciting new storyline, the veteran is fighting to prove he is still the answer. Let me know in the comments if you think this is the week the Raiders earn back some respect or just another chapter in the same story of doubt. Because this whole wave of people betting against them, of media questioning whether this team knows what it is doing on either side of the ball, lands right in the lap of the people who built this roster and sold the idea of a winning culture in Las Vegas, and that takes us straight into the heaviest point of this whole breakdown. In the middle of all this, the name that stands out the most is Pete Carroll. He was brought in to be the stability guy, the veteran who would clean things up after coaching change on top of coaching change. Instead, he is leading a team with 2 wins and 8 losses, totally lost on offense, and his own reputation is getting dragged on national platforms. For a coach who built a huge legacy in this league, that hits hard, even for people just watching from the outside. In the media, Jared Dublin from CBS already put Carroll on the list of names with a lot on the line down the stretch. And that was no accident. He basically describes the Raiders as a team that has no idea what it is doing on either side of the ball, especially on offense. He says it is brutal to watch a unit with no clear plan to get the ball to its best players, a line that cannot block, and a Geno Smith experiment that has been a failure so far. Man, reading that hurts the soul of any silver and black fan. The toughest part is that you cannot really say Carroll just inherited a mess and was stuck with it. His fingerprints are everywhere, on the personnel decisions, on the philosophy, on the adjustments that never came. When that piece says he does not have many places to point the finger besides the mirror, that is exactly how it feels for anyone watching this painful 2-8 grind week after week. To be honest with you, you can argue this whole experiment might have been flawed from the start, trying to force an older vision onto a roster that needed something more modern and flexible. At the same time, the front office led by John Spytek seems to have plenty of internal support. The outside read is clear. If a big change comes, it will be a lot easier to move on from the oldest coach in the league than to blow up the entire management project. And only here you get that behind-the-scenes take with a fan's heart When the trust stays upstairs and never really shows up on the field, it is usually the guy on the sideline who pays the price, especially when the product on the field is being called a disaster by major analysts. Nobody is saying he will automatically get fired if they lose to the Browns, but getting blown out by a rookie quarterback without some superstar arsenal around him would be another massive brick in this wall of doubt. I know you are thinking the same thing. The longer this movie runs, the more it looks like Carroll is fighting against his own legacy. Drop a comment and tell me if you still see a path for him to salvage this run in Las Vegas, because all of this says a lot about where this team is really standing right now and what kind of Raiders we are watching at this moment. When you put together everything that is happening with the Raiders right now, it feels like a franchise standing at a crossroads. An offense searching for an identity, a rookie begging to be the centerpiece, a veteran trying to prove he is still the answer, a defense carrying extra weight, and a legendary coach with his future on the line in the middle of Las Vegas. It is tough, it is exhausting, man, but that is exactly why Raider Nation cannot tune out. We hold this team accountable because we love this shield. Drop your thoughts in the comments. This space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes Raider Nation.